Hello everyone, thanks for joining me back on StubbleMeetsSteel. Well, my awesome friend Steve had loaned me the GOAT from Razorock, and he kind of messaged me the other day. He's like, hey, how's it going? And honestly, I was at a loss as to what else to compare this Razorock's new GOAT offering to as far as other razors I could compare it to. If you didn't see, I compared it to the Game Changer 84. I thought personally that was a great comparison because lots of guys have that. It kind of gives them some reference as to what shaving with the new GOAT would be like. Well, in that video, or one of the videos that I did with the GOAT, I mentioned that, well, it's got the name the GOAT. Maybe I should compare it to the Goatlander, aka the Overlander by Carve. And I've thought about that review, and I still might do it if a bunch of you guys want. Comment down below. But my thoughts were, after using this GOAT for a while, that the Overlander and the GOAT are kind of on two different spectrums to me. I would consider the Overlander a mild razor, and I consider the GOAT a solid medium for sure. So, speeding things along, I've decided to compare it to the Muhle Rocca. This is the one with the birchwood handle. They have it in a couple different flavors. There's one that's just all stainless steel, like a silver finish. One has a black handle. There's this one, and I want to say there might even be one more, and they vary in price. I think they vary from like 125. This one's the premium one at 150, compared to the Razorock is about 90. Size-wise, they're a little bit different. The handle length on the GOAT is about 3 1/4, whereas on the Rocca it's about 3.75. Handle diameter, they're very, very similar. The knob at the bottom is, if I remember right, this is about 14 millimeter handle. And weight-wise, I can't remember exactly. I just weighed them. I think the GOAT was about 84 grams, and I think the Muhle was like 88 grams. They're both, within 4 or 5 grams of each other. So similar in that regard. And I've shaved with this GOAT quite a few times, and if you saw my initial thoughts and reviews, I thought that it was kind of mild in that particular shave, and it turned out that it was the blade pairing. It really depends on what blade you use in this GOAT as far as how it performs. And I also find that the Rocca is a solid medium, but with the right blades, you can kind of tame it and take that kind of harsher edge off that it has. And same with this. And what I've recently discovered, my new favorite blade, thanks to Matthew Lawrence's channel, he loves these Gillette Silver Blues, these Russians. And so I was testing blades in my Guido razor, and I figured, well, this is a blade I know a lot of people use, so I wanted to try it. And I tested it in the GOAT, or in the Guido and the GOAT and a couple other razors, and it's a fantastic blade. It's really smooth, and it takes the edge off of more aggressive razors, I find. But unlike Filoso or some other blades that I find that are what I call smoothing or taming blades, they lack sharpness, whereas with the Gillette Silver Blue, it has the sharpness that I want. So it gets the best of both worlds. It has awesome smoothness, and it also gets it done sharpness-wise. For today's soap, I'm going to use Ariane & Evans Pistachio. This is one of my first artisan soaps, and just a great smell. I love pistachio ice cream, and I love how he put the sandalwood in there. The sandalwood smell kind of gives it like the scent of a sugar cone when you get an ice cream cone. For today's brush, I've got this is a new knot that I'm trying by Bowtie. This is the purple tipped one. They were running a sale, and so I grabbed a few of them and try. And my only regret was that I didn't buy more. Because now, last I had checked anyways, the Bowtie website had geo-blocked the United States. You couldn't even look at their website anymore. It didn't exist. But my friends overseas were like, nope, website's still up, man. I can get on there just fine. So yeah, they've geo-blocked the IP addresses from the US. Anyways, it's a nice knot. Get a little more water in there. Oh, I got my spray bottle. I'll use that today. Now that it's hot outside, I like the spray bottle. I didn't like it as much in the winter. Kind of gets you cold. But now that it's hot outside, I like it. I don't like to put a fan on in here while I'm shaving, especially if I'm doing a video. Messes with the audio. Even a little fan off in the distance, I tried that. I still found that the white noise from it was still noticeable on the audio. All right, that's good enough for me. Another thing I forgot to mention was the gap. The gap on the Muhle Rocca is not advertised, but somebody has told me that it's a 0.80 gap. Not an exact science, obviously, but shave-wise, I'd have to agree that that sounds like that's pretty much what it feels like to me. The first time using these blades in the Rocca, so I wasn't sure how well they would do, but they're performing very well. Maybe even better than the Filoso blades, which were my previous favorite in the Rocca. All right, let's hop over to the GOAT side here. The gap on the GOAT is supposed to be a 0.77 in neutral. They don't advertise it on the site, but it was up there. Sig Solo also saw it, so it's not me going crazy. Definitely more blade forward on the GOAT. I definitely have more blade feel than the Rocca for sure. And this is just the standard non-plus plate, if I didn't mention that already. As some of you may know, the GOAT has now come out with a plus plate. That must be the chainsaw powered model, that's or the gasoline powered model. Because for me, this is plenty. But everybody likes something different, so I guess for some guys, if they want to crank it up, you can. Very nice first pass. Let's get to the second pass here on the neck. Let's hop into the second pass here. Hopefully it's picking it up. One of the things I really love about the Rocca is it has class-leading audible feedback. Very noisy razor, which I personally really like. Fantastic pairing with the Rocca and the Gillette Silver Blue. Very, very smooth. Against the grain pass there on my neck, I would definitely say that there was more blade feel on the GOAT side again than on the Rocca side. Rocca's performing fantastic today. Probably the best blade pairing I've discovered with it yet, for sure. Very, very nice. Really kind of tames that little bit of a aggressive edge that the Rocca has. Nice pass. Rocca was manageable there against the grain on the under the nose. Maybe clean up under my nose a little bit here. Okay, let's go ahead and spray down. Let's see how the shave compares so far. Very, very comparable. Maybe a tiny bit more on the goat side, but this is also my harder to get side too, so. I just nicked myself right there. All right, let me get rinsed up and I'll go over the two razors and my final thoughts. All right, I'm back. Well, what do I think of these two razors? Well, as I mentioned in the first video, or the second video rather, I felt that the GOAT is definitely more of a medium razor, and that's why I've chosen to compare it head to head with the Rocca, because I also consider the Rocca a solid medium razor. And shaving wise, I was kind of surprised because that it was an epic blade pairing for the Rocca, but this is also the best blade I found for the GOAT for me personally, is either this Gillette Silver Blue or the Gillette 7 O'Clock Greens were the two best blades that I found for it to kind of tame that little bit of a wild blade forward edge that it seems to have for me. That said, I was surprised because, like I said, I consider the Rocca one of my more medium razors, and it was, to me, quite a bit less blade feel than the GOAT was. The GOAT definitely had more blade feel to me, and felt like it was a little more dangerous, that I had to kind of watch, especially around my Adam's apple and more sensitive areas. The against the grain pass on the mustache was definitely more lively and on edge with the GOAT for sure compared to the Rocca. I love the audible feedback of the Rocca, and for me this birch handle is just about as good as looks, you know, as you could want in a razor. It's got good balance. I like the solid, larger, thicker handle. I do like the handle of the GOAT, you know, fantastic Razorock knurling. And I like the homage to the McCord 34C, you know, vintage kind of look throwback because that has to it. Head shape, they're, you know, I would say the Rocca is maybe a little bit bigger, you know, as far as getting under the nose, but, you know, I would say there's a little bit of an edge there for the GOAT. You know, a personal preference as far as handle lengths, I can work with either of these. That's pretty much 3 1/4 to 3.75 is, you know, my wheelhouse. So both handles I really enjoy. For me personally, and my personal taste, as far as I like a little bit more mild razor, I would pick the Muhle Rocca. To me, it just had a little bit less blade feel to it and didn't feel quite as dangerous. Efficiency-wise, they seem like they were about dead even. I do find that these medium aggression razors definitely do have more efficiency. I can do much less buffing with these than I have to with like my Overlander or Shave Dad or more mild razors. So the medium class razors definitely do kind of bridge that gap and bring more efficiency if you can handle a little bit of more blade feel that they have and they don't irritate your neck. They don't irritate my neck. These are the Rocca in particular is one of my favorite medium class razors because it just fills that niche for me. It's not too mild, but it's not too wild. It's just right. Price wise, you know, I think these are very comparable, you know, 90 versus 125, or, you know, depending on which style you get. Like I mentioned, this one was a little bit more, but I feel that $90 is kind of an extravagant razor purchase for a lot of people. So for me, if you're going to spend 90, I know if I wanted the wood, I would spend a little bit extra money and get the wood handle if that's what I wanted. But that's my take on it. So I hope you enjoyed today's review. Both of these are great razors. If you like one that has a little more blade feel to it, you'll probably love the Razorock. But if you want a little bit smoother, awesome audible feedback and more unique handle, you know, the Muhle Rocca is pretty hard to beat. Well, there's my take on it. I'm glad I wound up doing this one versus the Overlander, because after using the Rocca compared to it today, the Overlander is just a totally different category razor than the GOAT in my personal opinion. But I had fun today. I hope everybody liked the video, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. I could use a little bit of love getting some algorithm going for my channel. And don't forget to check out the info section of the video. I've got some discount codes, and then I've also got some razors for sale, both new and vintage, so check that out if you're interested. I hope to talk to everybody in the comments, and I have another fun video coming up pretty soon that a viewer suggested, so keep your eyes out for that. I'll talk to everybody soon. Take care.